Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show?
With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
Welcome, everyone, to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. I'm your host, Joey Harris, and we are broadcasting from makeshift studios in the shadow of South Central Virginia. Follow the show on Twitter and Blue Sky at Cup of Joe Pod. Email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. You can support the show at paypal.me/cupofjoepod. I am on Cash App and Venmo at the Joey Harris. And of course, patreon.com/babykangaroomedia. For bonus episodes of the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show, the Joey Harris Super Show, the Green Room, the Book Club Baristas, the Film Club, and so much more, just $5 a month for hours of extra content. You also get monthly Mug Life episodes as well as the Mug Life monthly newsletter. You can get those on Patreon for free, but if you want everything just $5 a month, you can't get a Happy Meal for that, folks. As today we take a look at Bash at the Beach 1995 from WCW. Bash at the Beach 1995 was shown on pay-per-view on July 16, 1995 from Huntington Beach, California. There were an estimated 9,500 in attendance. Prior to the pay-per-view, WCW had 3 matches which aired on the main event. The first match saw Johnny B. Bad defeats Chris Kanyon, followed by Road Warrior Hawk defeating Mark Starr. During the last match on main event, Dick Slater and Bunkhouse Buck defeated Marcus Alexander Bagwell and Alex Wright. Following the match, Big Van Vader came out and hit the Vader bomb on both Bagwell and Wright. As 3 additional wrestlers came out to attempt to stop Vader, they too were hit with a Vader bomb. We started out with our intro. Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan welcome us to the pay-per-view and run down what we are going to see. We then get a feature on Meng. WCW United States Championship match. Sting versus Meng with Colonel Robert Parker. Mean Gene Okerlund talks to Sting. Sting says he's prepared for Meng, especially on his home turf. Meng and Parker out first. Sting gets a great ovation when he comes out. Michael Buffer makes the introductions. The belt is presented. The bell rings. They circle each other. Sting is cautious to begin. Test of strength. They break. Meng hits Sting in the corner. Sting fights back and Meng doesn't go down. They drive to another corner. Meng drives his elbow into Sting's midsection. Meng chokes Sting repeatedly. Meng hits a leg drop for a 2 count. He goes back to a nerve hold. Sting coming back. He gets to the corner to break. Sting comes back with a clothesline. Meng with a slam. He misses a splash when Sting moves. Sting puts the Scorpion Deathlock on. Parker gets on the apron. Sting goes after Parker, allowing Meng to attack Sting. He runs him into a turnbuckle. He drops Sting with a brainbuster for a 2 count. Meng with several backbreakers for another 2 count. Meng works on Sting's leg. He then works on Sting's back. Meng with an abdominal stretch. Sting won't give up. Sting with a sunset flip, back and forth. Meng with a headbutt. Meng with a modified crab on Sting. Sting gets to the ropes. Meng misses an elbow. Sting with a belly-to-back suplex. Sting with a flurry of offense. Sting clips Meng's leg. Sting with a Thez press for a 2 count. Sting with a crossbody for another 2 count. Sting goes for the splash, but Meng kicks him in the face. Sting gets his foot on the ropes. Meng hits a splash for a 2 count. Sting gets a roll up to win the match. Meng attacks Sting after the match. Hawk comes out to check on Sting. The crowd wants Meng and Hawk to fight. Mean Gene talks to Jimmy Hart and the Renegade, and it was pretty pointless. WCW World Television Championship match. The Renegade with Jimmy Hart versus Paul Orndorff. Orndorff is out looking all business. Renegade comes out cosplaying the Warrior. They start hot and heavy with Orndorff avoiding Renegade's offense. Orndorff takes Renegade down. He drops an elbow and then yells at Hart. Renegade comes back with a clothesline and knocks Orndorff to the outside. Orndorff regroups and gets back in. Renegade brings it in and drops Orndorff. Renegade with a side headlock. Renegade drop kicks Orndorff to the outside. Orndorff grabs some sand and throws it in Renegade's face. Orndorff with a side suplex and a clothesline. Orndorff with a series of elbows and runs Renegade into the turnbuckle. Orndorff dominates but takes too much time. Renegade backdrops out of a piledriver attempt. Renegade hits a power slam. Orndorff throws Renegade out. He attacks Renegade as Renegade tries to get back in the ring. Renegade gets a belly-to-back suplex to get the pin, but Orndorff gets his shoulder up. This was a bad match and Orndorff got screwed. Orndorff pile drives Renegade after the match, but Renegade no-sells it and hits a crossbody on Orndorff, and the crowd hates Renegade. A video package of Kamala joining the Dungeon of Doom. Mean Gene then talks to Jim Duggan. He is fired up and calls out Kamala. Kamala with Kevin Sullivan versus Jim Duggan. It takes a while to get started. Duggan gets a USA chant going. They trade blows. Duggan can't get Kamala down. He finally does temporarily. Kamala attacks Duggan. Kamala with a side headlock. Duggan tries to slam Kamala but can't. Kamala with a bear hug. Duggan tries to get out. The crowd gets behind Duggan. He gets out but misses a charge. Kamala attacks Duggan in the corner. Duggan comes back. Duggan attacks Kamala in the corner. He hits a clothesline. Duggan goes after Sullivan, allowing the Zodiac to come in and hit Duggan, and Kamala gets the pin. Mean Gene talks to Randy Savage about the lifeguard match with Ric Flair. Savage is intense here. Diamond Dallas Page with the Diamond Doll and Max Muscle versus Dave Sullivan. A young man presents the doll with flowers that DDP destroys. Sullivan attacks DDP and stuffs the flowers in DDP's mouth. Sullivan suplexes DDP from the apron. DDP runs Sullivan into the corner, back and forth. Sullivan with another suplex. He sees the doll and DDP attacks Sullivan from behind. He beats Sullivan in the corner. Sullivan with a bear hug. They trade blows. DDP misses a corner charge. Sullivan hits a clothesline. He runs DDP into the turnbuckle and hits a clothesline. He gets the inverted bear hug. Muscle gets up on the apron to distract Sullivan, and DDP hits the diamond cutter to get the pin. Mean Gene talks to Harlem Heat and Sister Sherry about the triangle match coming up. They say they have things under control because they are the champions. WCW World Tag Team Championship Triangle match. Harlem Heat, Booker T, and Stevie Ray with Sister Sherry versus the Blue Bloods, Steven Regal and Robert Eaton versus the Nasty Boys, Brian Knobbs and Jerry Saggs. The belts are presented. It takes a while to get started. The Nasty Boys and Harlem Heat start. Stevie and Knobbs start. All six start to brawl before they officially lock up. The Nasty Boys do the pit stop on their opponents. Knobbs and Booker go back and forth. Knobbs with a clothesline. Regal tagged in. Booker with a side headlock to Regal. Stevie and Eaton tagged in. It's hard to follow with everyone trying to get their shots in. The Nasty Boys in control. Knobbs with a headbutt. Regal and Stevie are in. Booker tagged in. Eaton tagged in. The Blue Bloods beat Booker down. This is a cluster, a series of one counts. Regal beats Booker down in the corner. Each team gets a chance to shine. I've never liked this kind of match because of this format. It should be elimination style. Saggs and Knobbs get Regal and Booker down and pins both of them, but Booker technically pins Regal to retain. After the match, Mean Gene interviews Sherry and Harlem Heat. They say they show that they are the dominant tag team in WCW. Mean Gene then interviews Ric Flair about Randy Savage. Flair talks about Elizabeth, Space Mountain, and the lifeguard match. We then get the lifeguard match, Ric Flair versus Randy Savage. Basically a lumberjack match, but on the beach. Angelo Paffo's in the crowd, and Savage hugs him on the way to the ring. Michael Buffer makes the introductions. It takes a while to get started. They lock up. Savage with a barrage of offense on Flair. Flair was thrown out, and the lifeguards threw him back in. Savage with corner-mounted punches. Flair comes back with chops. Savage dumped outside. He gets thrown back in, back and forth. Savage with a running elbow. Flair does an up and over bump, and the lifeguards throw him in. Savage is out too, and he gets thrown in. The lifeguards also get into it. The action is intense. Flair with a hand to the eyes. Flair with a sleeper. Savage gets out. Flair puts the sleeper on again, but Savage runs Flair into a turnbuckle. They trade shots. Savage is thrown out and gets thrown back in. Savage beats Flair down in the corner. Savage with a sleeper, but Flair takes his leg out. Flair works on the leg. Savage comes back. Flair puts the figure four on. Savage fights the pain. He turns the move over. Flair breaks the hold. Flair with a suplex. Savage with corner-mounted punches. Flair dumped to the outside. He gets thrown back in. Savage with a backdrop. Savage with a double axe handle. Brian Knobbs gets up on the apron to distract referee Randy Anderson, and Arn Anderson comes in, but Savage hits him to knock him out of the ring. Savage throws Flair out, and Anderson sneaks in and hits Savage with a DDT. Savage kicks out on two. Savage with a backslide for a 2 count. Flair goes up top, but gets caught and thrown off, so take a shot if you're drinking at home. Savage hits a double axe handle. Savage hits the flying elbow drop to get the pin. The crowd celebrates, and Savage celebrates with the Baywatch Beauties. We then get a feature on Vader's Roadkill tour. They set the cage up. Mean Gene talks to Vader. He is intense here. He calls Hulk Hogan out. Vader's singlet is on backwards. Tony and Bobby then talk about the main event. They talk about the collision in Korea. Mean Gene talks to Jimmy Hart and Hulk Hogan, who have Dennis Rodman with them. Hogan calls out Vader. This went on way too long, but they have to have time to set the cage up. Cage match for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Hulk Hogan with Jimmy Hart and Dennis Rodman versus Vader. Vader out first, and he has his old school helmet on. His singlet is still on backwards. The Baywatch Beauties lead Hulk Hogan and company out. Michael Buffer makes the introductions. They have the pin, submit, or escape the cage rules. The bell rings and Hogan attacks Vader. He gets corner-mounted punches. He hits Vader with a double axe handle. Vader comes back and runs Hogan into the cage. He beats Hogan down in a corner. Vader pummeling Hogan. Hogan comes back, but Vader hits a Vader bomb on Hogan. He hits a pair of them for a 2 count. Hogan ran into the cage. Vader hits Hogan with some right hands. Vader tries to get out of the cage. Hogan tries to pick Vader up, but can't. Vader headbutts Hogan. Vader misses a top rope splash when Hogan moves. Hogan tries to slam Vader, but Vader falls on him for a 2 count. Vader with a rear chin lock. Hart leads a Hogan chant. Hogan comes back. They trade blows. Hogan slams Vader but hurts his back. Vader hits a short clothesline. Vader splashes Hogan for a 2 count. Hogan hulks up. Hogan with a series of right hands. He runs Vader into the cage and hits a couple of big boots. Taskmaster and the Zodiac come out, but Rodman runs them off. Hogan hits 2 leg drops. He goes to climb the cage, but Vader stops him. They fight to the top rope. Hogan pushes Vader down and escapes the cage to win. They sign off from the beach as Ric Flair comes out and berates Vader. Vader chokes Flair. Arn Anderson comes out and Vader goes after both of them. Vader calls both out as Tony and Bobby talk about what happened. Final thoughts. An okay show, decent crowd, but not what they were expecting, and the Vader feud was a bust for Hogan. You can follow me on Facebook, Threads, and Instagram at TheJoeyHarris. If you like this show, please leave a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or your preferred podcast app. I would really appreciate it. We can also be found on Spotify and YouTube. Just search for The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show, and don't forget to hit subscribe. Thank you for joining me. This is Joey saying so long from the heart of Virginia.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.